Welcome to Adam Does Movies. I'm Adam. It's Tuesday night. It's feeling right. I'm feeling right. I have a buddy joining me. We're going to bring him on in a second. First, a little bit of housekeeping I should go over. Let me bring this on the stream really quick. I have a Patreon, patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. Different tier levels. Highly suggest checking it out. If you want to support my content, that's the best way to do it. YouTube payout is embarrassing, to be quite frank. It's disgusting. So yeah, I got different tiers. Look at these pretty ones: bronze, silver, gold. But when you get over to Mithril, that's a nice one because that's a $30 treat for you. You get to pick out a roast video for me to do. Let me share this screen really quick. Look at this beautiful list. So these videos are at your disposal once you join Mithril, and then I give you a shout out. So you say, "Hey Adam, I want you to review the cinematic darling emoji movie." And I'll do that. I'll go through the entirety of that film and just completely eviscerate it for 25 minutes. It's a good time. I will point out some of these on the list I don't even hate. There's a couple on here I actually enjoy, but there's enough material for me to say, yeah, let's do this. Let's roast this shit up. And so that's just a fun treat for anybody that wants to really support the channel and get something in return. The last thing I wanted to say is the friend joining me today, if you didn't figure it out from the title, is Cody Leach. He's got a YouTube channel, obviously. Decent amount of subscribers, it looks like. I'm hoping to hit the $1,000 subscriber mark. 100,000, I'm sorry. I'm hoping to hit the 100,000 subscriber mark by 2032 and get a silver plaque up there. That would be the dream. Another, maybe 10 years or so we get there. But Cody's got a lot of good stuff, so make sure to throw a subscription his way. He just ranked all the Ninja Turtle movies. Interesting. I haven't watched that one yet. I assume that he put, I'm going to say he put the new one at the top. I'm going to ask him in a second if that's true, because I think that's the way to do it. The animated one was solid. Okay, let's bring him in. Hello, Cody. Hang on, let me unmute you. Hello, Cody.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I have to ask, why is Hollow Man on your roast list?
So I asked,
fantastic.
I asked the audience, and some people threw it on there. Now, of course, these are movies that are up to the Patreon to choose. So I don't imagine anybody's actually going to pick Hollow Man. I don't know if I've seen. Is that the Kevin Bacon one that I have on there?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't remember enjoying that movie, but I don't remember hating it either. I felt like it was a very kind of film.
I love it.
Was there a remake of that not that long ago? Or was that Invisible Man?
The Invisible Man. So yeah, they're very, very different takes, but
I like that one quite a bit.
So did I.
Yeah. That was solid. All right, well, Cody, let's just get down to brass tacks. And I should point out for anybody in the chat right now, thank you for watching and joining us. Super chats are always welcome. I made a spiel at the beginning about becoming a Patreon or YouTube join member. But super chats are fantastic. It's a quick way to say hi. I like what you're doing. You can ask a question to Cody and I, and we'll answer it at the end of this conversation. And the conversation topic is on horrible movie theater experiences. So if you have one of those and you want us to read it off, we'll put it up at the end, give you a shout out, and we'll see if we can relate at all. I have a feeling we will, because we've both been to a stupid amount of movies in our time.
When you see the amount of movies that I do, you play the averages pretty badly. Where they're like, I never have those experiences. Well, like I go twice a week, so I get a lot.
Yeah, Cody, I did a little bit of research right before we started the stream. I want to throw out a little bit of trivia for you, if you don't mind.
Ooh, yes, go ahead.
The first theater, if you didn't know, was called the Nickelodeon, and it opened in what did it open? Oh my God, I'm sorry. It opened for 15 to 20 minute short videos, and it was named Nickelodeon because it only cost a nickel to go to it. This was in 1905.
Lived like a king in those days.
1905. You're walking in with a fur coat and a cane, tip the hat, and yeah, you're watching a 15-minute short, which was, I guess, the equivalent of a TikTok now.
Yeah.
Then there was the rise of the color films, and sound was actually included, which is nice. That was in the 1920s. Then we saw the rise of drive-in movies. We got to multiplexes. They started incorporating 3D. And now here we are today in the complete shit show post-COVID with streaming taking over. I only bring this up because in 1958, there was over 4,000 drive-in theaters. Today, there's around 300.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see this happening with the multiplexes in the future, or do you think we're okay? Things are going to stay good for the theater experience?
It's hard to say. It feels like the movie industry has tried so badly over the past, especially over the past 3 years, to try to completely change the theater side of the business to their
Yeah.
advantage. I think if the movie theaters had it their way, there would be a Paramount theater, there would be a WB theater that only played their movies and all that kind of craziness. But it feels like whatever direction they're trying to push us, while it seems like people are willing to go with it at first, audiences tend to push back. They tried to do the whole day and date release thing where WB was like, you can see our movies at home or you can go to the theater, but who would do that when you could see it for free at home?
Yeah,
And that
I feel
really
like that
bit them in the
backfired.
yeah, it backfired pretty badly.
Yeah.
And there's been some other ideas like AMC, which is, from my knowledge, the biggest theater chain, and strangely seems like the one most determined to destroy the theater industry. They were trying to do some shit where, like, 2 years ago, they were saying how they were going to encourage young generations to bring their cell phones because they understand that's the way the world works now. And everybody was like, no, I won't come to you anymore then.
Yeah.
And then they had the whole thing that they were talking about not even a year ago, where they were going to start doing like tier pricing on the seating.
I remember
where
that.
if you sit in the middle, you pay more. And if you sit in the shit seats in the front, then you pay less. And then they decided to abandon that because everybody told them to go to hell.
Which one offers you the feature to sit with Nicole Kidman while she's walking around, wandering the empty theater seats? Yeah, that's the payment I want to go into. Hey, I want to see the movie with Nicole Kidman since she sits alone in these empty theaters.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it feels like, I mean, people just love the theater experience, and we'll get into later about how some people don't completely respect that experience. But I don't see theaters going away.
No, I don't either.
I don't see, if anything, I just feel like they're going to have to change some of the more classic approach. Like, it still kind of baffles me how, for the most part, all theaters still serve the same shit they've been serving since like the 50s. It's popcorn, candy, a soda, and if, God forbid, you one of those dickholes that order like a fucking pizza, and then all of a sudden everybody in line's waiting for 20 minutes while you wait for your little 6-inch pizza to be cooked. And it's just like, dude, go to Pizza Hut before you get here.
So I've been to some of the theaters. Before I left Minnesota, they actually had a lot of really nice theaters and more, I guess, progressive, newer style of theaters with axe throwing inside. And there was basically a full pizza kitchen, and they would bring the food to your chairs, and it reclined, and they had heated seats. It was awesome. And then I came to the South Carolina, and it's you're lucky if there's 2 people working the theater at any given day. And they're not the friendliest of staff either. But man, it's just a different world. So yeah, they're definitely trying to innovate in some of these places, but also that innovation comes at a cost. I
Mhm.
remember taking my wife and kids to, what was it? It was the first movie we went to. I mean, it was still during COVID. It was A Quiet Place 2. That was
Mm.
kind of the big release. Like, hey, we're getting past this all. You know, if you're vaxxed and whatever, come out to the theater. So we all went out. We all ordered pizza. We all had a drink, and I think it was
Oh,
$87.
yeah.
4 of us. It was
Oh, so you had
crazy.
coupons.
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty bad. Well, it was a
Yeah.
matinee. We got matinee price. So, it was only $10 a ticket.
Mhm. Well, see, I'm personally, I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more for experiences like that. Like, I got addicted to the Alamo Drafthouse experience whenever I went to Fantastic Fest last September,
Yeah.
where the very strict no cell phones, no talking, literal security guards standing in the theater. We need more of that.
I
And
never had that experience. I've only heard amazing things about it.
oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you have the whole like full dinner menu, desserts, milkshakes, whatever, 3 different
Oof.
kinds of popcorn, and it's all geared towards staying quiet. So you have like a little piece of paper and you write your order on it and you stick it there, and the people like you just see like a head go in front of your table and they snatch the paper like a goblin, and then all of a sudden food shows up. And like when I come back home, I'm like, ah, yeah, I got popcorn and assholes on their phone. Great.
Oh, yeah.
But
Back to
yeah,
reality.
I would, if there was a theater near me that had those policies in place and had more variety of like a dinner experience or a dine-in experience, I would happily pay $2, $3 more per ticket to go there, and I would probably exclusively go there. That's
I
not
agree.
everybody. That's
I
just
do
me.
agree. I
But
agree
yeah.
with you. Well, that leads to a big issue I have, at least with Regal Cinemas, and I think maybe AMC has this to an extent. They have the Regal Pass. It's
Mhm.
$22 a month, and it gives you carte blanche access to every single movie. Great on paper. The problem is it breeds a lot of rude moviegoers because the movies kind of lose a lot of the weight when you can just go to 4 movies a day and you can sit there and be a jackass and you didn't really ruin anything for yourself because you can just go again. Maybe you've
Mhm.
already seen that movie 4 times. And I know there's people that have. Regal put out an email recently that said, "You've been to like 18 movies this month or something." I don't know. It was pretty reasonable for someone that's in the space. But then it
Mhm.
showed the top viewer and is like, "This guy's been to 800 movies this month." And I'm like, what? Is he living there? Is he living at the theater?
Oh
It
yeah.
wasn't that much, but it was an insane amount of movies to the
It's
point where,
surprising whenever there's a deal out there that brings in all the people that rarely go,
yeah.
how much more horrible the behavior is. Like, what was that deal they had? It was like theater day last year where theater tickets were like
Yes.
$2, and all it was for like 3 days was just people's Twitter posts of people like fighting each other in the aisles and like throwing beer cans and stuff. And it's like that's what happens when you
That's
open
exactly what
yourself
it
up
did.
to the $2 tickets.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really the option you have because in my area, there's only 2 Regals, and that's the only thing I have for hundreds of miles and a lot of other people. So when a Regal charges, I believe it's like $14 a ticket, but
Mhm.
then they also offer a Regal Pass for $22 a month. It's just a no-brainer. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think a huge amount of people have this pass, and it's just use and abuse. It's miserable.
Yeah. They're not really invested in seeing the movie. It's just some shit to do for 2 hours.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. All right, Cody, I want to, before we get into the miserable stuff, why don't you give me, what would you say is the best year or years span of movies for you? Was it when you were like 17 in the
Oh, wow.
2000s, or the, sorry to put you on the spot. If you don't know
Yeah.
offhand, I
I
have it in my head,
You
but
go ahead and let me
okay.
do just a tiny bit of research because yeah, I don't know. I can't do that one off the cuff.
Well, for me, and it's obviously because I was a teenager at the time and didn't have the stress of a family and a full-time job and all that stuff. So obviously that's going to come into play. But for me, movies were really magical when they did have the person taking your ticket at the front, at the
Mhm.
ticket booth, which my kids don't even know what that is. And then you would go to a separate area. And this was in the, late 90s, very early 2000s. So
Mhm.
90s and 2000s, around that area is where I thought movies were fantastic. And I had a
Yeah.
great time every time. So you would go to the front ticket booth, you would go to the concession, and then you would have one dude who just ripped the stub and told you where to go. What a job. That was like that was the job I wanted. I'm like, I want to be that fucking guy. He just goes there. Oh, there you go. 2 for this. Head on that way. Enjoy Spy Kids 3D, you stupid idiots. Like, what a treat. What a magical experience. And so, yeah, The Matrix, for instance, or I'm trying to think, Spider-Man, when those hit, or Lord of the Rings, they all had those midnight showings, which I thought were freaking awesome, because you're not getting some schlub off the street with his Regal movie pass coming into this thing. You are getting hardcore fans of movies waiting in line for 6 to 8 hours to go watch Lord of the Rings at 12:01 in the morning, knowing that they're not getting out of this thing until well after 3 on a Friday night. That's fucking awesome. And so, yeah, I would say those were the glory years for me personally.
Probably not necessarily reflecting on the actual movies that were released, but probably the glory years for me was somewhere between 2002 and 2003. So that's when I was like 12, 13 years old. And this is when I lived in Ohio. I moved here when I was 14. And whenever I lived in Ohio, movie theaters, we had 3 of them that were all like within 10 minutes. Here in the South, especially if you don't live in the city, you tend to have to drive 20 to 30 minutes to get wherever you're going to go. So whenever I was preteen, if you will, I was always really heavily into movies. I was always wanting to go check out the new thing. I was always pestering and begging my dad every time there was a big new one. But this was when I was starting to get old enough to go and watch them by myself if I wanted to. There was also a whole deal where my grandma was friends with somebody that was actually the projectionist at one of the theaters. It was the lesser of the 3 that was nearest, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
And so once in a while, if he was working, I could just get like a little free pass to go watch stuff. And so there was like a year and a half there to where I could pester my dad to go to all the big blockbuster stuff that me and him would want to go see. And then all the smaller stuff or all the more kid friendly stuff that he didn't really have interest in, I would go by myself, or I would take a friend from school and go in for free. So like I saw Signs 3 different times in theaters.
Beautiful.
Movies like, again, not saying quality, but like Kangaroo Jack, like things like that, where I was like, that's going to be a 4-star experience. Drop me off. Anger Management, things like that. So that little stretch there where
I saw
my adulthood,
just to spit up really quick. I saw Kangaroo Jack way later. It was that my uncle owned it, and I was like dog sitting, and so I threw it on, and that movie was nothing like the theater said it was going to be. Do you remember those trailers? They're showing him like rapping in front of the camera.
That literal one scene.
That's one scene in the movie. Yeah, it's not even about the kangaroo. Like, this isn't like Scooby-Doo at all.
Yeah.
Sorry,
absolutely.
You can continue. I just had to share that because that was funny.
Yeah. So those were the years that I think really started to get special to me, because it wasn't like I wasn't tethered to my father, where it was just whatever movie he wanted to see. Right. That's what we were seeing. I could kind of start to make my own movie decisions and see as much as I wanted to an extent.
Of course, yes.
Sign of things to come for my future.
Oh man, I used to bike to the movie theater. That was I remember biking with my buddies to go to The Game. If you remember that gem with Michael Douglas, that movie blew my mind. That movie blew my mind. I was like, and I walked out of the theater, and it's a Fincher movie, so most of it's at night and it looks beautiful. But this was a matinee, so when we walked out of the theater, it was like vampires getting hit with the stuff. Just I miss that though. I miss that. And now it's usually me by myself going to the theaters, because not even my kids have interest half the time in seeing the movie. And my wife she's completely checked out, but we'll get to the reason for that in a little while here. A couple bad experiences were enough to say, I'm good. I'm done. Okay, so we got our good years out of the way. Do you have, let's just jump into it. Do you have a specific movie theater experience that stands out as just the ultimate worst? Do you recall?
I have 2 that I often bring. I mean, there's been plenty, but 2 that were just like, how this did not end in a confrontation, I don't know. So the smaller of the 2 was that film Lights Out from like maybe 4 years ago. Little horror movie where the demon chick only shows up if the lights are out.
That's right.
And there was a woman directly in front of me that was Snapchatting all of the scare scenes. And if you've seen enough horror movies, you know when it's coming. You know when the music drops out, you're like, okay, something's coming. And every single time that would happen, she'd pull her phone out, full brightness,
Oh
For
yeah.
everybody behind her. She would record the entire sequence until the scare happened, and then she'd spend the next 5 minutes putting like emojis and the lights out logo and
The
some of her friends.
hashtags and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so the third time that it happened, I was like, fuck. And so I got up to go and like get a manager, but by that point, I guess somebody else had already been tired of it. And so she kind of walked over and stood in our area. And then luckily it stopped. But by then the movie, it's a short film. So by then the movie was already like 2/3 of the way done. And all of the best scenes were ruined because I was, being spotlighted in the face.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's do you ever ask them directly or do you try to go get a manager?
I usually try to avoid the confrontation
Okay.
because I know I don't do well if it's not a simple, okay, sorry, I didn't realize, or something like that. Like if anybody's gonna like put the asshole shoes on and be like, I paid for my ticket, I do what I want, then I know it's gonna be I'm gonna ruin everybody else's theater
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
So I'm always nervous about that because I don't react well when I'm trying to be respectful and like, can you not be an asshole? And then it goes the other way. So usually I leave it to the staff. And luckily, this theater, my wife managed for about 3 years. So I
Mhm.
knew the staff. So I didn't even really have to go searching or have any awkward experience. It was just like, yo, Joe, what the fuck? Somebody in here. Uh, so the other one was more recent. It was Black Panther Wakanda Forever. And I had to typically what I'll do if somebody is just it becomes clear that this person is not going to stop the entire movie, I will just move seats. I will
Yeah,
find out
yeah.
where somebody is not sitting, go and move seats. My theater does have assigned seating, but I assume like if you're 30 minutes an hour into the movie and somebody
I
hasn't
do
sat
that.
there
Yeah, I
yet,
do
so
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a woman next to me with a kid who clearly had no interest whatsoever in this movie. And Wakanda Forever is
That
not
makes two
really
of us. Yeah.
Wakanda Forever is not really a kid-friendly Marvel film. It's a lot darker
Yeah,
and
it's
so
somber and
it's not a
long
fun
and
movie.
no, no.
So this kid's losing his mind. He's, shuffling around, and I'm a parent, so I'm patient. I understand sometimes you
Yeah.
bring your kid to a movie and they just act like an ass and you're like, "Well, great. This is my experience now." So I'm being patient, and then eventually she hands the kid her phone and lets him play video games while the movie is on, which I wouldn't have minded as much, but she left the sound on. And so he's playing video games with the sound on while
I've
the
had
movie's
this.
going.
I've had this happen too.
And it's just one of those things where I'm just like, how the fuck is this a thing? Like, if I even have to bring this up to you, why do I have to be the asshole to tell you you don't bring cell phone, video games, tablets, whatever into the theater with the sound on? It's annoying enough with the sound off and the
Can
brightness all the way down.
do you find this an epidemic that's happening elsewhere with the sound full blast out in public? Because I've had it happen several times in just the last month. I'll be at the freaking clinic with my
Mhm.
wife, and some woman has like a pastor on the phone. He's like, "May the power of the Lord and Savior." It's just blasting. Like, do you guys not have any like filter? Do you not understand that there's other people here? Do you have fucking headphones you can put on? And
Nope.
this is just everywhere now. I see this. Kids are on their tablets blaring the music in an open environment. I just don't understand
It
what's
all
going on.
started for me on the first few brands of smartphones where people would play music through the really shitty early speakers,
Mhm.
and they would just put it in their pocket and walk around with the music going full blast at like this really horrible quality. Ever since then, I've noticed it gotten
I
worse.
wake in the morning and I step outside and
Exactly.
I
So I have this woman and her kid. Eventually, whenever I realize that she's not going to like, oh my God, I have the sound on. Sorry, everybody else that paid their fucking ticket.
Yeah.
When I realize that's not going to happen, I de-recline my seat and I go to the other side of the theater and sit down. And I chose poorly because I sit there and after about 15 minutes, I notice that the guy next to me has his cell phone on the rest. And every time he has a notification, he does this thing, flips it, and it's right towards me. So every
Yeah.
5 minutes, that's just like, and then he answers a phone call.
And he doesn't leave. Does
And
he
then
stay there?
just stays there. Hey, what up? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What's going on? 10
I don't,
minutes
I don't even
later,
know I don't know what I'm at. Is it Iron Man 3 or something? Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, 10 minutes later, he answers a second one. And so I'm just like, oh my God. Okay. This is gonna be my Black Panther Wakanda Forever experience, I guess. So I had to move seats again. After that, it was tolerable enough, but that was the one where it was just like, dude, am I gonna play like musical chairs in this motherfucker to try to be able to watch the movie? What the hell's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had several miserable ones as well. The biggest one that comes to mind appropriately enough was Captain America Civil War. And
Mm,
I believe a civil war broke out in the theater that day as well. Because outside of the fact that my service was really bad, I made the mistake of not eating beforehand. I knew this was a long movie. I knew the theater supplied really bad chicken wings.
mm.
I went ahead and ordered them. It was a gamble, and I failed because those wings were not ready when the movie was started. So I had to kind of like bounce in and out of the theater. Hope like are my wings ready? Are my rings ready? No, okay. Outside of that, I had a guy with several boys who had the light up sneaker shoes. Remember when those were popular?
Oh.
And just boom, 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 hitting them against the chair. So it's just like, a constant siren hitting me in the face.
Mhm.
And again, this was a cavalcade of just miserable shit going on. So we had the boys over there. I had the guy a couple rows up on his phone, popping it, full brightness every time. I had a gaggle of teenage boys who were making bad jokes during the film. There was just no win at all. So that one really from top to bottom was just a horrible experience all around for a movie that should have been at least a pleasant experience.
Mhm.
And the other one that comes to mind was Detective Pikachu. If you remember that little gem of a flick, I took my two kids, and I think there was maybe five different guys. Why is it always fucking guys? Middle-aged dudes that are on their phones, and they were just going up like they were at a concert, holding up their phones constantly. And unlike you, Cody, I make the mistake of being the guy that goes up and tells these people to knock it off because I also am a parent, and I
Mhm.
guess I have to parent adults.
Mhm.
So I, at Detective Pikachu, walked half the length of the theater because another thing I always have, I'm sure you've seen this too, is people that go on their phones tend to go in the front rows for some reason so that everyone behind them can see them going on their stupid Facebook or playing their tower defense game or whatever it is. So
Mhm.
I make a beeline up to the front row and I'm like, dude, you got to get off your phone. I'm not even nice anymore because I'm so sick of it at this point. So I'm just
Mhm.
scolding this adult who's with his two kids. I'm like, dude, you have to get off your phone. I gave you 20 minutes of this movie. It's done. I can't anymore. The final one, and this is the one that made my wife stop going to movies full stop, was here in South Carolina. We went to Jurassic World Dominion, which was already a miserable
Yeah.
experience just from the
Adventure of
movie.
Locusts.
Yeah, exactly. Featuring some dinosaurs once in a while. Full house, a person in the middle. This woman is full blown vaping in the theater, and
Oh,
she's got
yeah, I've
like
had that too.
cherry banaka. I don't know what the flavor is, but it's just
Yeah.
spreads out. And Lindsay's like, I can't do this. What is going on with this woman? And I went to the manager, who is probably getting paid, $12 an hour plus a stick of gum once in a while, and she
Mhm.
clearly could not give a shit. I'm like, ma'am,
Mhm.
there's a woman vaping in there, and she's just looks at me like, yeah, get in line. There's lots of people vaping in these theaters.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was it for Lindsay. And also, she doesn't like going to movies with me anymore because she knows I have PTSD from the last few years of movies. And
Mhm.
I'm already 10% on edge when I go in. I'm scanning around looking for the worst people.
Who's
And
the
like,
asshole?
yeah, it's like, who's gonna fucking ruin this for me? At some point, I'm gonna become the full-blown villain of my own story.
You just every time I go into a theater, I'm like I'm like James Franco in Spider-Man 3 up in the rafters, just like looking down and be like, who's gonna do it?
Yeah. So I'm already on edge. Like, I swear to God, if someone's on their phones, Lindsay's like, how about you go
Mhm.
in a little cooler? But
Yeah.
yeah, I've mellowed down because now I've been beaten to the point of no return, and I'm just kind of a shell of a former person. Um,
Yeah. I have this famous move that I do now because my theater reclines. So usually my feet are like up in my view anyway. And so usually
yeah.
like I'll have this whole thing. And like if somebody's on their phone, I'll just pivot my foot to block the phone. And usually that gets me by as long as it's not way off in the peripherals.
I do that with the hands. If I see a
Hmm.
periph shot over here, or if it's one row up, I
Yeah.
just kind of do one of these. But then
Hmm.
you still get the piercing once in a while, and it's just the fact that I know this asshole's on it that's really bugging me. Like, why
Hmm.
aren't you enjoying this movie? You paid for it.
Yeah, my wife gets uncomfortable once in a while whenever we go, and that happens because I'll stare at the person. Like that's the first line of defense is that I'm just like this. And I'm just waiting for the peripherals to
They
see a
never care.
face.
They never care.
Never do, never
They never
do. It
care.
never happens. Oh man, yeah,
It's
I
like
had
a
a
it's like a meerkat popping up. Like, come on, dude. Come on, try me. I love it. They
yeah.
never care.
One of the best ones I ever had was it was actually the second time that I went to go see The Last Jedi because the first time I was like I must have saw the wrong movie. So I went to the
You did
very
not.
next day to see it again before I reviewed it, and it was a full packed theater, and I'm off like in the middle left, and you see da, 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 and as soon as the opening crawl gets done, some dude like in the front row opens his cell phone, and within half a second, some guy in the back, hey, put your fucking cell phone away. You're watching Star Wars. Bald guy, first row. And I was like,
That guy's a hero.
you're my hero. Yeah.
That guy is a hero.
And
Part of
I
me
was
is so
and it never
part of
came
me
back out.
part of me is so jaded and cynical. I feel like that wouldn't fly anymore, and that there's
Mhm.
more people that are accepting of people being on phones.
Yeah.
Feel like I'm losing my mind and I'm the only person going to movies now to actually watch the movie. And there's all these other people in there that are just kind of half in, and they're also like, we can do other things. We don't have to, maybe we
Yeah.
set up like a dinner over here and, have a FaceTime call with grandma while the credits are going.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what makes it hard is that, back in the day, there used to be the one dude doing the asshole thing, and you knew if anybody said anything, the rest of the theater had your back.
Yeah.
And nowadays, it feels more like it's 50-50. Like half the people there
Right.
actually want to see the movie that they paid their hard-earned money for, and everybody else is like, this is just a cool room with AC that I can flip through Instagram. Like, what's the problem?
That's what
I
I'm
paid
saying.
for my ticket.
We're eventually going to become the villains of this story where we're going to be the one dude left who's like, back in my day, we didn't have phones out when we were watching the movie.
Yeah.
I
Oh
also get a
man.
kick out of the assholes that can't find their seat without their phone. So they'll go up to the bathroom and they'll come back like they forgot the layout of the theater, like it somehow moved as the island in Lost did when they turned a wheel. So the person comes back and their phone's at full brightness, like it's like your fucking seat's right here. I can see it.
Or the
So
people that
bad.
come into the movie like 20 minutes after it starts.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're trying to find an open seat back in the old days, or if you have assigned seating, they're trying to read their ticket. And it's like, you didn't read it out in the hallway, asshole.
And there's always someone in their seat every time they come in 20
Oh
minutes late.
man.
There's always people in their seat.
I had a bad one with that
I
one.
think you're in our seat. And they have like 14, popcorns in their hand and a swirly straw. That's why they were late, because they ordered all that shit.
Uh-huh. Oh man, I had a bad one with that. So this was during the time that my wife worked at this theater, and it was like a date night movie. And this is, I was on YouTube at the time. This wasn't necessarily a movie that I would normally go on a date for, but I wanted to go check it out and possibly review it. And it was all that was out. So we
Yeah.
drove like 30, 40 minutes to go drop our kids off at my wife's aunt's house, and then hauled ass back. And I'm sweating the entire time because I'm like, we're gonna be late for this movie. There's no way we're gonna be late. We're gonna miss the beginning, and I can't stand that. Not
Yeah.
only just because I don't like missing the movie, I don't like being that asshole that comes in after it started.
Yeah, right. You
And so
kinda,
we get there, and it's literally like the opening credits basically. And it was that movie Detroit. Did you see that one about the
I don't
the
even
white
know.
cops that were imprisoning the black people in that hotel and killed a couple of them? Like, it's one of those hardcore, like,
Oh man, I haven't
white
even
people
heard
are
of that
evil
movie.
movies. Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah. So it's pretty hardcore, and we get there, and they're there just in time, but we walk all the way up through the darkness, and two people are sitting in our seats, and my wife's like, oh no, fuck that. And she goes and gets out and gets whoever was working at the time. And then the movie starts to brighten up, and we're standing off to the side, and I start panning the room, and I'm just like, oh god, this is not
God.
good. And we my wife is like, what's wrong? And I was like, we're the only white people in this theater, and we're kicking two black people out to watch Detroit. Do you not
You
understand how
don't
bad?
belong in this
Yeah.
seat. You go to the back of the theater. This is
That's
our
exactly where their seats were. That's what made it even worse. And so that whole thing, I was just like, oh my god, this is not a good look.
Oh my
Oh
god,
man.
that's
The other one,
hilarious.
which Renegade Hero, luckily in the chat reminded me of, was it was almost a terrifying situation, but it's kind of a funny story because nothing happened.
Yeah.
So when Hell or High Water came out, it was one of those movies that was kind of hard to find a theater that was playing it. And then finally, one of the theaters in Savannah, one of the shittier ones, was playing it. And I really wanted to see it. So me and the wife went to go, fought like hell to get the kids taken care of so that we can go see it. And we're watching this movie, and it's an awesome movie. And we get to the last 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, these two dudes walk in together that have not been there the entire movie. And one of them sits in the far left front seat, and the other one goes and sits in the back far right seat. So they have the whole thing cornered. And all I'm thinking, I'm like, did they have a backpack or anything?
Yeah.
And what my mind was thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And so I take my wife. I'm like, let's go, because I don't, this isn't good. And we walk, and you know how the theater has like that little divider that goes whenever you're walking in. And so I was basically watching the last 10 minutes of the movie like that, like,
oh my
watching
God,
it through there just in case I heard a fucking gunshot.
Jesus.
Nothing ended up happening. I kind of feel it makes me sound shitty that I didn't go grab somebody like, hey, somebody's about to die. I was just like, hey, I gotta make sure I see the end of this so I can review it. but
you're just watching still.
Yeah, exactly.
We gotta go. We gotta go.
Cinematography.
I got 5 seconds left.
Yeah.
How are the YouTubers? How are the people gonna know what I think of the full movie if I don't finish it?
Yeah. What if there's a twist at the end? A cameo.
We had me and my buddy Clint back in high school actually almost had a very bad altercation with the gentleman. Funny enough, this is one of 2 Jet Li films that I have to talk about really quickly. But Jet Li's, of course, masterwork, The One. If you're familiar with that film. I am the one. That's where he has to kill different variants of himself to become the strongest. Yeah, it has a pretty badass soundtrack, if I recall.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it's
very 2000s, but I like it.
Well, you know why? Is because it's, I think, 89 minutes long. It's not even a full hour and a half, because it knows to get in and get out, which a lot of movies are failing to acknowledge recently.
Yeah.
But anyway, we go to this movie, and I have to get up to go to the bathroom at one point. So I do, because I have the bladder of, like a 7-year-old girl. I come back, and then my buddy, when the movie's almost done, has to get up and go. And this is enough to break the camel's back on the guy that's sitting at the end. First off, if you're sitting at the end of the row, you should expect that people are going to probably have to come and go once in a while. This dude looked like he was maybe a war vet or something. And he starts cursing us out. He's like, holy shit. And he looks at us, and he's got rage in his eyes like I've never seen before. And my buddy, we're both like scrawny, thin dudes, but we're scrappy. There's 2 of us in high school. We're ready to move and bounce. But my buddy had a little bit of a mouth on him too. So he's like, what are you going to do about it, dude? And so the movie's over, and we're in the parking lot, and here he comes, mowing down on us. He's like, all right, let's do this. I'm like, oh my God, are we going to fucking fight at the end of Jet Li's The One in the parking lot in the middle of the day?
I will be the one.
I am the one. And some random passerby sees what's happening, and he breaks the whole thing up. But yeah, we were about ready to full-blown fold each other there in that parking lot. It would have been bad.
That is awesome.
Yeah. The other one was Jet Li's other beautiful film, Romeo Must Die. This one wasn't a fight, but I did get detention because our basketball team made it to the Final Four, and we had one of these things where you could leave school for the day and go to the game. You could drive down and watch it to show school spirit. Well, we didn't do that. We ended up going to Romeo Must Die, and then we were just going to get the ticket stubs and go back. I don't know how it all worked out semantically, how we got the stubs, but I did not. So I got detention. Somehow my buddies got out of it, but
oh man.
I did see Romeo Must Die, and I would say worth it. Worth it.
Worth the detention any day.
Worth the detention. Yeah. So those are a couple more. I just had a couple of grievances. I don't know if you agree with these or not, but I'm a big soda drinker at the theater. I like to have a Coca-Cola Classic when I watch a movie. I have one every time I do a live stream. It's kind of my little guilty pleasure, I would say, Cody. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I have a Coke. And
I'm the same way.
Are you really? Okay. Cool.
Yes. Yeah. I get the enjoyment out of a glass of Coke with ice in it that most people do with their after work beer.
Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate that. So what I don't appreciate though is this Regal situation. They only have Pepsi products, and a part of me is,
Burn it to the ground.
yeah, basically dead inside every time I go to the theater, and I don't even know what to do. I stand there with my dick in my hand like a lost puppy, and it's either I get a Mountain Dew or this is sad to say because I'm a big supporter of theater chains, but I will say a couple times recently I went to Chipotle before the theater, before the movie. I got a large drink, and I just went in with the drink. You can judge me if you want,
This is
but
the position they put you in.
they handcuffed me.
Forced your hand.
Had they offered me Coke, I would have emptied that drink out right there on the spot, and I would have bought a new one, a fresh one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done it a couple times, and I'm not happy about it, but that's where we're at.
I'm the same way. I despise Pepsi. I don't mind some of their offshoots like Mountain Dew. That's typically my go-to. If somebody tells me they don't have Pepsi, I'll have Mountain Dew. Or the Sierra Mist wasn't bad, or excuse me, now it's Starry. Same shit.
Really? When did that happen?
Within the past year. I haven't verified this, but the story that I came across was that there was a influencer, a TikTok influencer, or somebody that was using the name Sierra Mist, and Pepsi actually tried to sue this person, but it was their actual name, so Pepsi lost and had to force a brand change of a soda that's been around for fucking 20 years. So now it's called Starry.
Starry.
Yeah. Starry. Same shit. No difference whatsoever.
We now star you. There's no way anyone has this name anywhere. And then the Pokemon company calls them up that night. Yeah, we have a problem.
But yeah, every time we go out to a restaurant or whatever, like there's an audible groan when they take the drink orders. I'm like, I'll have a Coke. And I'm like, is Pepsi okay? And I'm like, no, Pepsi's a horrible disappointment, but I'll have a Mountain Dew.
Waiters probably could attest to this. There's probably something in their handbook or their training where they say, okay, we have a Pepsi challenge rule here where there's going to be a good swath of customers that when they ask for a Coke and you say Pepsi, just expect them to have like a full body reaction, fall backwards, have a little tantrum. You have to roll with it and say, is Pepsi okay? Is Pepsi all right?
You know the answer. You know the answer, sir.
Yeah.
It's not at all.
It's not.
And it's funny. I find that people that prefer Pepsi don't mind substituting with a Coke, but people that love Coke despise having to substitute with a Pepsi.
Yeah,
I haven't met anybody that's broken that rule. Yeah,
it's good marketing. Pepsi pumps a ton of ad revenue into marketing their product, and I think that a lot of families just were like, well, the Pepsi challenge says Pepsi's better, so I'm not even gonna bother with Coke.
Britney Spears likes this one. I'll take that one.
Yeah, I got Britney Spears fighting in a Coliseum with Pink and Beyonce. That surely they wouldn't do that if they didn't love the substance.
Yeah, my theaters around here all have Coke. I only get screwed whenever I go out of town. Like if I have to go to a Jacksonville or something for a movie, or the couple of times I've gone to Atlanta for a press screening, those are the times where I get the disappointment. But like you, 9 times out of 10, it's got to be a Coke. Once in a while, I'll do a Mr. Pibb if I'm just not quite in a Coke mode. That one will work for me. But those are the only two. Sprite I love, but it just doesn't it doesn't feel right in the theater. And same with Mountain Dew.
That's a Coke product though. Sprite's a Coke product. So you're
for sure
out of luck regardless. This happened. I haven't been to Subway in many years, but back when I ate fresh at Subway, they had, I believe, Pepsi products to start with, and a Mountain Dew paired really nicely with a 12-foot meatball sub. And they at some point decided we're a Coke family now, and it's the only time in existence where I was actually disappointed that I couldn't get my hands on a Mountain Dew with a meal. Just want to throw that out there, so it's not just some, it's not a bias. It's not like a 100% blind love for Coca-Cola Classic. I do have some love for Mountain Dew as well, just not at the theater.
I remember it was a social media post that I saw, I think it was like maybe 4 years ago, where Arby's officially swapped from Pepsi over to Coke products nationwide. And there was somebody they were like, well, you just lost a customer. And I was like, well, you lost one customer. Everybody else is like,
now we're done.
Good on you.
And now we're done. Thanks.
That's it. We weeded that guy out.
Dad, can we have Arby's tonight? No, we can't have Arby's tonight or tomorrow or ever again. We are a Pepsi family, damn it.
Yeah.
Do you have any, the last thing I wanted to say, and then we can answer some super chats. So feel free to throw super chats in if you have any horrible movie experiences, or if you have any questions for Corey or I, or if you want Corey to kind of do some sort of a magic trick. I think you'd probably do that and everybody would be happy. Corey, do you have any just kind of funny movie theater experiences? Like, one that jumps to mind right away is I went to Pan's Labyrinth, amazing movie back in the day when it hit theaters, and this dad comes in with his 6-year-old daughter, and I think I was more fascinated by how quickly they were going to leave than I was with the movie at the time, because I knew this was a hard R film. And within, I think, 5 minutes, the evil dad in the film is just busting the fuck out of the guy's nose with a bottle, and they were gone. The girl's crying and they're out of the theater. Like, I don't know what you were thinking going into this, dude.
I have two that come to mind.
Okay.
So I had, whenever I went to go see The Conjuring 2. You've seen that one, I assume?
No.
No? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Me.
I got it confused with Insidious.
Okay.
I love the Conjuring movies, except for the last one. I thought that was kind of lame.
I agree.
Yeah, it didn't even feel like a Conjuring movie. It felt like this weird. I mean, it is, I guess,
you
kind
could
of
tell James Wan didn't do that one.
Yeah, I was confusing with Insidious, which I feel like those are C-list horror movies that somehow have 5 movies now. But yeah, go on.
Yeah,
Conjuring
so
2, that's a good flick.
There's about maybe 40 minutes into the movie where, you know, the little girl that is being haunted or whatever is home by herself because her parents are awesome. And so she's by herself and she keeps like hearing things. And so it keeps doing this shot where it shows the empty chair and it's kind of moving. And then it'll reverse back to her and you can see the reflection in the TV of the old man sitting in the chair. And it's a really good, like, scene that's building tension. And so we're watching this, and of course it's like classic theater with loud noise whenever, or loudspeakers whenever it's loud, and it's like whisper quiet whenever everybody knows a scare is coming. So everybody's silent, and it keeps panning back and forth. And then there's a shot where after all of that build up, the camera goes back to her, and the old man is like right next to her head, and he's like, "My house."
Yes.
And so I was in the theater, and I swear to God, like, we're watching it at full packed theater, and as soon as that "my house" happened, there was a black dude in the front row that fucking booked. he just ran full sprint out of the theater and never came back. And I just laughed because, like, the whole thing, I'm like, is he coming back at some point? And like, just nope. He said, "Fuck it, I'm out." And so that was hilarious. And then the
Cody's
other one,
just eating it up, just eating it up.
I was just like, you weren't ready. But the other one, to the point where I have to recreate it myself when I watch the movie at home because it's just part of the experience for me. The original Kick-Ass. So this was like 2009, 2010. I go to see it with a coworker friend of mine, and the movie's great. And it gets to a point like 2/3 of the way through the movie where Nicolas Cage and Kick-Ass are tied up and they're being tortured live on TV, and they're getting ready to kill them both.
Big Daddy's in trouble.
Yeah, and Hit Girl comes out of nowhere, and so you have the guy that's like standing in front of them in the broadcast, and then Hit Girl comes out of nowhere and just pops him right between the eyes, and the lights go out, and then and the sound cuts out of the movie.
Yeah.
And so we're watching it, and you have that, so pop, and then the sound cuts out, and the dude in the middle of the theater goes, "Yeah, suck a bitch," and the whole fucking theater died laughing. And to this day, I can't watch the movie without that happening. And then to myself, I have to go, "Yeah, suck a bitch." It's just part of the movie to me. I'm like, where's the director's cut? Because that's the one that I'm used to.
That's the Cody cut. Hey guys, I've been through and I digitally remastered this film, and I added a line that I think really enhances it all.
Yeah, it just doesn't hit the same without it. So yeah, that's the funniest one that I've had. But literally the whole theater burst into laughter, and I was just like, man, that was a great line.
That's gold. It's like did you ever watch Seinfeld?
I've seen a few episodes.
You weren't a Seinfeld fan? Oh man,
no.
highly recommend you go through it. It still holds up. Anyway, George Costanza, he's one of the losers of the show, but he goes to the Hindenburg disaster movie, and when the blimp blows up, he yells out, "That's gotta hurt!" And he gets a couple chuckles, so he keeps going back to the movie to try to recreate the joke again. It's gotta hurt. It's ridiculous.
That's pretty good.
Anyway, yeah. Anything else, or should we jump into the super chats? Trying to look through my
I think
notes of complaints.
I think we're good. Maybe the chat will inspire some more bitching out of me, but I feel like
Yeah.
I've covered my bases.
Trying to look over my old man grievances I have with the theaters. Let me tell you guys about the movie theater experience back in my day. Okay, super
Mhm.
chat we got from Jonathan S for $5. Thank you, Jonathan. Not bad, but interesting. About 5 minutes late for times two. Guy in the back says, oh, wait, oh, X2. I'm sorry, times two. I thought he meant Cody and I.
Yeah.
X2, X-Men United. You missed the Nightcrawler fight. Seemed excited. Have you seen Stay yet? Okay, well, this is two separate topics, but man, that is a bummer that you missed that X-Men 2 opening number because that's truly one of the best moments of the film. And I love
Mhm.
X-Men 2. It's still one of
Me
my
too.
favorite comic book movies.
Same.
I think between that opening and the mansion raid, where I don't think I've ever seen Hugh Jackman go more fucking visceral than when he puts that guy into the fridge and yells right in front of
He just pulls it out.
oh my god, it's so good. Yeah, that
I love
movie
it.
front to back has so many great moments. Okay, have you seen Stay yet? I don't even know what that is. Do you
Stay.
know
Is
what
that
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 is?
movie? Is that that old movie with Ryan Gosling?
Well, it says yet. I assumed maybe it was
I would assume
newer,
it would
but
be recent,
yeah,
huh?
we have
But
a 2005, a 2021, and a 2013.
yeah, 2005 is the only one that I've ever heard of. I've not seen it, but yeah, I'm aware of it. I think somebody I know used to always talk pretty highly of it, but clearly
Jonathan, if you want to
they didn't convince me.
clarify, yeah, if you want to clarify, please do for an additional $10 super chat. Thank you. No, joking.
Just one
You're-
word answer, just the year.
Here's all we need. Hack the Movies. Tony from Hack the Movies in the mix. Beautiful $5 super chat. Let's bring that up really quickly. I play Adam Does Movies videos on my phone when I'm in a theater. The whole time I scream, "This is my friend Adam. He isn't as famous as me." Well, I mean, I would have put an apostrophe in that isn't. That's kind of triggering me right now, but I understand, Tony. Yeah, Tony is a very famous movie critic. He was in the film Dark Knight Rises. I believe we talked about this last time, Cody, if you recall.
Mhm.
He's one of the extras in like, seat 800, row 3000 back. If you pause, you can enhance 17 times and maybe find him. Yeah, that's his claim to fame, and we have to respect that. Thank you, Tony. I'm glad that you play. If you're playing Adam Does Movies or Cody Leach in the theater, that's perfectly acceptable.
Yes.
We'll allow that. Okay, Hulk for $10. Thank you, Hulk. I imagine this is the Mark Ruffalo. How do you say that last name? Is it Ruffalo?
Ruffalo is how I usually pronounce
Okay,
it,
yeah.
whether it's correct or not.
What's your favorite Hulk, Cody?
I actually prefer the Edward Norton one.
Okay, I'm gonna maybe shock you and say I like the Bana version. I like the
Hmm.
Eric Bana. Yeah, I don't like the movie. I like his performance though. First time I've ever donated money to a YouTuber. You are awesome. Such a strong male YouTuber. And for YouTube, it's about time. Only way I can climax now. Thank you, Hulk, for all those great references to a recent video I did. Cody's probably like, "Dear God, what?"
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the best super chat ever.
No, I recently roasted the all female Ghostbusters from 2016, the iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were several jokes where I said this is now the only way I can achieve climax. It was like at one point, what the hell's his name? Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth draws the Ghostbuster logo, and it's like the big boobs and then the ghost. Yeah, so
Mhm.
little jokes. This is the highbrow stuff you get on this channel. We have Matt Jazz fan for $4.99. Thank you. A year ago, someone's phone kept ringing till I yelled, "Turn your fucking phone off!" And then I realized it was actually coming from the movie. I thought he was gonna say from me, but either way, that's great.
Little twist ending there. I like that.
He's like M. Night Shyamalan in the mix.
That's fucking awesome.
That's great. Okay, we got Jan Rose with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Jan. I don't watch horror movies at theaters anymore because when I did, there'd always be a group of people laughing and it's not funny. I have PTSD too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've had
horror
that several
movies can be
times.
rough because you get the teenage crowd out in those more times than not, and they're always there to giggle because they're there with their friends or that they're on like a triple date or whatever. And yeah, it can
Yeah.
be rough.
I think it's a coping mechanism for some of them. It's typically the boys I see do it where they're just kind of laughing to kind of calm their nerves and maybe peacock a little bit, like, oh, this is funny, but
Mhm.
secretly they're kind of crying inside, like, I hope it doesn't get scarier than this. Yeah, thank you, Jan. I agree. When I was another one from Jan, $5, beautiful. When I was watching Lincoln at a theater, I still haven't seen Lincoln because it's
Neither have I.
and I just can't do it. An hour or so in, an old lady fell asleep and snored so loudly, I laughed so hard.
Oh man.
I think I have had that before where people are falling asleep and you go doing one of these. I had one of these.
You try to do that subtle thing where like you try to like hit the chair and like move the whole row, jolt them out of their sleep. I only fell asleep and caught myself snoring in a movie one time, and I think it was just for a second, so I don't think I was anybody's super chat story. But
No.
it was the first Doctor Strange. I was like
Oh,
45
really?
minutes into it, and I just something about the reclining seats and not really being that into it. I was like, I dozed off for a minute, and then you kind of do that like that
Yeah,
one
yeah.
little thing that jolts you out, and then you like look around all self-conscious, like, holy fuck, how long was that going on?
Well, it's the driving thing, right? I'm sure you've had it when you're driving really a
Yeah.
long night or something. You do one of the, and then you start like slapping yourself. I just
Hmm.
had this for the first time ever in the theater at Meg 2. I was starting to kind of
Oh
go,
yeah.
and I felt it. I'm like, oh my
Anything
God.
during that first 90 minutes.
It's like this movie is so mediocre across the board. And then they're underwater and it's dark for half of the film. And yeah, Meg 2 wasn't great.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan.
Although, the TikTok community that for some reason the algorithm shot my short out to was very high up on that film. And they had some choice words for me, Cody. A
Yeah.
lot of choice words for me. They couldn't
TikTok
spell the
is
word. They couldn't
always
spell the words, but they were very choice. This guy dumb. He don't know. Like, what, are these like 6-year-olds? Who's writing this shit? Okay, Sean Payton, 1999. Thank you, Sean. Amazing. Black Adam went to see. I like how he just starts with Black Adam. He's really
Mhm.
setting the stage. Went to see it, and something with the theater at the time. There was something with an air conditioner, made noise the entire movie. That kid who didn't know what to do in that movie besides be annoying. What? Did I miss this? Am I understanding this? There was something with an air conditioner, made noise the entire movie. Okay, so is Sean the kid that's annoyed by the air conditioner? Am I
I
understanding
think
this?
he's using two like compounded things that were annoying
Okay.
about the movie experience: the air conditioner noise and the kid who's
Oh,
like
I see.
in the movie.
He
Gotcha.
kind of he broke it up with a
Hmm.
okay. The kid he's yeah, an air conditioner. Oh man, I had so I'm old enough to remember the days, the really sad days before theater seating was a thing. We had a movie
Oh,
theater. We had a fucking movie theater in our town that was just straight flat. So if you weren't the tallest guy in the room,
you're
you
fucked.
were you were you were fucked. If you were the tallest guy in the room, you were
You're
the
an asshole.
asshole. It was.
Always me.
I remember going to yeah. I remember going to Toy Story, the first one, and we were very far back in the theater, and we still did not have. And at this time, stadium seating was a thing, but I was in a rinky-dink small town, so we didn't have it yet. And it was the game, Cody, when you're having to like weave your head, position it so that you're going past the lady with the Marge Simpson hairdo and the guy that
Hmm.
for some reason has a cowboy novelty hat on, and you're just trying to find that one angle that you can watch this movie. Awful, awful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I will never forget when I walked into my local theater and they finally implemented assigned seating. I was like, "Oh, thank God." I used to fucking hate that whole game you had to play where, like, especially if it was something like Avengers, it's like, "Well, we gotta get there 2 hours early, otherwise we're gonna sit in the damn aisle." And, man, when they did that, I was like, "Oh, you guys are beautiful people." And
I
it never failed to entertain me for, like, the first 2 years. Every third time I went to the theater, there was always somebody holding up the line because they were just infuriated that they had to pick their seat. Like, why can't I just go pick one when I'm in there? And I'm just like, you dumb bitch. What does it matter? What are you losing?
Everything.
Yeah.
God, those were the days. I part of me misses the picking your own seat. It was such a
Oh, was
madcap
that
dash.
asshole that had to like reserve
Oh
9
my
seats
god,
for his
yeah.
friends?
I only have like 6 things on my person, so a jack is 3 seats over. A jacket, I got like my pop is 7 seats over for my group who
Yeah.
never shows up until the movie starts. And then I'm
Mhm.
like a Karen there, like, oh, thanks for coming. I've been
Mhm.
here for 40 minutes. Yeah, I remember going to The Day After Tomorrow, and I was freaking hardcore with movies. I prided myself on getting there early and getting that middle center row,
Mhm.
the holy grail of movie experiences. I don't know who these insane assholes are that want to sit in the front. They're crazy. But
Yeah.
Day After Tomorrow, I had to put myself out there and let my brother, 2 years younger than me, he was going to be the one in charge of getting to the theater early this one time. And he fucked everyone. He did not get there early. We show up. He rolls in right with us. He's in the parking lot. I'm like, you're not just getting here, right? You're like, you went back to your car to get something, right? And he's like, no. Okay, well, we're screwed then. We're going to Day After Tomorrow, opening night, and we get there. We are in the front row,
Ugh.
looking like this. I had neck pain afterwards for like 3 days. Awful
Yeah.
experience.
I have only had to my memory, I've only had to watch a movie in that front row one time, and it was the Beauty and the Beast remake, because my wife is a
Oh
classic Disney
God.
fanatic, and that movie, for whatever reason, was impossible to get a fucking seat at. Like, it is always sold out, sold out, sold out, and we finally found a theater
For
that
whatever
wasn't.
reason, you have a remake of one of the most iconic Disney films. You have Emma Watson, who is like beloved by all. I mean, this was printing money,
There you
easy money.
go. It
It
just felt
sucks, but
odd
yeah.
at how like, even more so than an Avengers movie. It's like, is everybody in Earth, like, going to see this? So we finally found a theater that wasn't, and the only seats where there was 2 together, because everybody always had that 1 seat space,
Yeah.
was the front row, and, yeah, I would walk out. I would just go another day, because, yeah, we're sitting there, and I'm gonna come over here, and, like, my wife's next to me. I'm like, "Let me know if something happens on that side." It's just I don't understand it. Like, when they were doing the theater tier pricing idea with AMC, the only
Oh,
part of it that
yeah.
ever made sense was like, "Oh, yeah, if you get fucked and you have to sit in that front row, we'll give you a $3 discount."
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's
Is it worth it though for the discount? You're it's miserable.
I don't get it.
I remember going to there was 2 times when I went to a movie with my buddies and we could not sit together. And that was
Mhm.
kind of fun in its own way too, because we'd be watching and once in a while I just like look back where my buddy was at. He'd be like, he just give me, yeah, did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that was awesome. You're just kind of miming out your excitement.
That's awesome.
Okay, well, we got that one. I think. Oh, you know what? My long roll to get here wasn't even about the stadium seating, Peyton. It was about the fact that that theater that didn't have stadium seating also had a ceiling fan that went clink, 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 clink.
A
So yeah,
fan?
a
I don't think
fan,
I've ever been in a theater
like
with a
the
fan.
fan you find in your grandma's house was in the
They
theater.
just stick it in front of the screen. It's one of those oscillating fans. Just
Jerry, please plug the fan back in Theater 7. Jerry,
When
sorry
I took
guys.
my wife to go see Joyride last month, the AC in
Oh.
that theater was out, and I was so tempted to do a TikTok like, "See, Sound of Freedom, people, it's not just you."
They don't want you to see Joyride. It's about the message, and they're trying to silence us. Yeah, Jesus. Okay, Mike Hunt for $2. Thank you, Mike. Have you ever cosplayed for a movie? Cody?
No. The most that I will do is like the concert thing where you just wear the shirt, the T-shirt that matches the movie. I've never done anything else beyond that.
Nor have I. I take that back. For American Pie, I went as a chronic masturbator, but that actually was something I was always going as. So that was separate from the movie, but it just lined up. No, I've never dressed up for a film. Although maybe I should go to the
I
next Batman in a full Batman outfit. It's so
Do you
bad.
remember that movie, Don't Breathe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I went to go see that, and
There's
it
two
was
of
me and
those,
my
right?
wife. It was me and my wife, and the only other 2 people in the theater was a woman and her husband who was blind, and he was walking in with a cane. And I was
God.
like, for the first 5, I was trying my best. I wanted to be like, "Are you cosplaying?" Or
Oh
like,
my
it's
god!
the only movie I've ever seen with a blind person in attendance is about the
It's
fucking evil
it's about a
blind guy.
blind guy. That's awesome. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
He took it to heart. He's like, "This finally, I get some
Yeah, I feel
appreciation."
seen.
Ironically, I feel seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I will say though, I don't cosplay, but I do enjoy going to like a Star Wars opening night back in the day, or Lord of the Rings, and seeing the people cosplaying. I think it's fun. It definitely
Mhm.
livens up the mood, and it shows that people are, they're getting out and they're having a good time. And there really is nothing better to me than seeing a movie with a packed house of people that are freaking loving the movie and really invested in it.
Mhm.
Funny
I went
enough,
through.
Cody, sorry, really quick.
Mhm.
You brought up Sound of Freedom, and I saw Sound of Freedom with a full house, and these were legit the most respectful moviegoers I've ever been with. In fact, a woman a couple seats down, her husband had snacks, and every time he picked up the bag, it made like a little, and the
Uh-huh.
woman was gonna fucking murder him. She's like, "Stop it! Stop it!" And she's like, hitting his hand down, and he looked at her like, "What am I supposed to do?" That guy never ate that candy. He wasted that money.
Oh man.
You were going to say something before I interrupted. I
Well, you
apologize.
made me think when they were talking about cosplay. It was one of the more recent Star Wars movies. I don't remember which one it was, but I took my son to go see it, and they had a bunch of people. Like, I don't know if they hired them or if they just volunteered to be there, but like the long hallway to the big giant theater, the
Yeah.
GTX at my local
Yeah.
one, they had people there with like different Star Wars cosplay, and they had a whole like line, like 3 or 4 people on both sides of bounty hunters. There were
Oh,
just like
wow.
security waiting for you to go through. And my son, we're walking through, and he goes, "Stormtroopers," and I was like, "You're gonna get our ass
Yeah.
kicked, dude." Like he said that, and they were all like, they just stopped.
One of the bounty hunters takes a step forward and turns. Come with me.
Yeah, yeah, you're going to carbonite,
Come with me.
big
Yeah.
mouth.
That's awesome. Okay,
Mhm.
Shadow Humor with a $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. I love that icon. It's just badass.
It
You know
is.
what's a good movie? Lamb. Absolutely incredible. Peak cinema. This is an inside joke because I recently eviscerated Lamb in a review recommendation from Shadow Humor.
Oh man.
Did you see Lamb?
No, but it
It was
just reading the title, it sounds like some pretentious A24 shit.
exactly what it is. Pretentious
There you
A24
go.
shit.
Nailed it.
Yeah. It's you know what the funny thing is, I saw the trailer for it at the Green Knight, which was more A24 pretentious shit. And I thought Lamb looked really cool and interesting. And it's one of those movies where all the cool stuff is that first 2 minutes, and then that's it. The rest of the movie is just bullshit.
Yeah.
Miserable. It's not about what they show you, Cody. It's what you take away from it. You build the story.
You
You're the
didn't get it.
creative. Yeah, yeah, you just didn't understand the movie. Sorry there wasn't enough explosions for you.
My favorite one recently was whenever I was talking about the audio quality at Oppenheimer, where I couldn't hear about a quarter of the dialogue, and somebody
Really?
got
Did
all.
you have that problem?
I did. I don't know what it must be a theater specific thing
It's gotta
because
be.
it feels like there's people that say that, "Oh, thank God he didn't do that this time," and then there was just as many people that were like, "Here's this shit again."
Yeah.
But yeah, I had one of the IMAX experiences where about a quarter of the dialogue, the music and the ambience behind the dialogue was overtaken what they were saying.
Okay.
And so I put that note in my review, and I had somebody aggressively come back, and they were like, "That's the point. That's what Nolan wants. He doesn't like you to hear his dialogue." And
It's
I'm
the
like,
genius of Nolan. You have to really pay attention.
yeah, exactly. And
I
I'm
have
just like,
I had two takeaways from it. I had two hot takes. One of them is I just think that people that can't hear it have bad hearing.
mhm,
I put it as more a compliment on myself. Like I have such good hearing. I
mhm,
can pick up the smallest intricate detail. But then the other part of me, the conspiracy theorist hat I put on for this is Nolan purposely makes his audio a little tough to hear so that you have to go back to see the movie again, and so
yeah,
that it's in the news. Like, oh, another Christopher Nolan movie that you got to see twice.
yeah, exactly.
I love it either way.
Mhm.
No, I didn't have that problem. I did have it with Tenet for sure, but
I had it with Tenet, and he overcorrected it, but it was an issue in Dark Knight Rises whenever they did the trailer, and then he cranked Tom Hardy way up, so now his volume's like 8 decibels above everybody else.
I was born in the shadows. Mad Jazz Fan 999 $9.99. That's not part of his name. Mad Jazz Fan 999. That's his username.
Mhm.
This also actually happened. 5 seconds before Rocket Man ended, a drunk guy stormed into the theater yelling and threw a baby seat directly at me, almost hitting me in the face. What? Was there
You
a baby?
have
Where was
what's
the baby?
where's the story? Where's the rest of that story? There's
Yeah,
gotta be more than that.
this also actually happened, he said, meaning that there is more of this story. Did I miss a super
Well,
chat from him?
he had a previous one.
Oh, he did. I
Yeah,
don't
he
remember
did.
seeing him. Oh, that was Hulk.
I remember that,
I'm looking.
I
Oh, you're
remember
right. Oh no, that's the one I'm looking at right now. I don't see it.
I definitely remember
There
that,
you're right. There it is. Okay, this is the guy that did the
oh, turn your phone off.
did I actually read that one out?
You did,
Phone kept
where he
ringing,
screamed,
yelled.
"Turn your
Oh,
phone
and
off," and
it
it was in
was
the
in
movie.
the movie. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this actually 5 seconds before Rocket Man ended. So this isn't really relative to that. This is just another situation he got himself into. I have a lot of questions. Number
Yeah.
one, was there a baby originally in this seat? Where is the baby now? A lot of things around the baby. Number two, why did he throw this at you? Like that's kind of the big one. Was it at you? Was there someone around you that was making a disturbance? Wow. I almost hit him in the face. Where did it hit him? You know, did you like dodge it and it just went around and hit some elderly
Not
woman,
today,
like
bitch.
old lady behind him? This is the first day of the rest of my dead guy there. She's dead. All right. Thank you for that, Matt. And I'm sorry for all the trials and tribulations you've gone through at the movies. I'd probably that might be end game for me if I'm getting baby seats thrown at my head.
Yeah.
Master Sergeant with the $10 super chat. Thank you, sir. Never had a bad cinema experience. Crap just always works out for me. That and I have done only the Alamo over the last decade.
Man, you can't beat it, man. I'm
Might
telling
be
you.
related.
I'm trying to will it to existence to have them build one near me. The nearest one is like 5 hours north. You're much closer to it than I am.
Really?
Yeah,
How
there's
far is the
one
Alamo to
like
me?
let me see. It
Let me just
was
start. I'm in Somerville, so I'm a little bit in.
oh, I've been to Somerville one time when I
My
was in high
address
school.
is. Let me just
Yeah.
dox myself.
Draft House, South Carolina, or maybe it was North Carolina.
Someday we'll have to do a meetup, Cody, at the Alamo Draft House, and
Hey, I'm game.
share
I
a
was
Coke.
almost considering it's in North Carolina. It's in Riley.
North Carolina. You know,
But
we
that's
almost
5
moved there.
hours. That's 5 hours from me, so that's probably like what, an hour from you?
Yeah,
2
yeah, we're
hours.
pretty close to North Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I almost considered taking my kids to go see the Mutant Mayhem Ninja Turtles movie because they were playing it there a little early and they were doing like Ninja Turtle themed food. Like there was
Oh, nice.
a actual pizza that they made for the movie and like a green slush. And I was like, that would be fun, but
Yeah.
5.5 hours is rough.
Yeah.
For a movie. And it's like, okay, guys, well, this is the one movie this year that was 90 minutes. Time to go home.
You brought up Mutant Mayhem. What did you like that, didn't you, or not?
I did. I enjoyed it. I
Liked
took
it.
my kids to go see it in Jacksonville. That was a 2-hour drive, but we went there and
Wow.
made a whole little day out of it. Went to Cheesecake Factory afterwards, and so it was
as one does, of course.
yes, absolutely. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Good. And you enjoyed it enough to make it your number one, I assume, on your ranking video. Number 3.
Yeah.
If you put Secret of the Ooze above it, we might throw hands as well in the parking lot. Number 1. What? What? What was your favorite weapon that the turtles didn't use? Let me get out my trusty salami.
Yeah.
Fun fact, you know that they couldn't use weapons in that movie because a bunch of Karens in the 90s wrote to the studio and said, we don't want to see swords and knives. And yeah. I do love the beginning of that film when they're in the mall and they're using the different
combat cold cuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
That was the
well,
one that I watched the most as a kid, so I have the most
I
nostalgia
understand.
for it, and it just yeah, it works for me. If I was to make
Nostalgia,
a Turtles movie, it would be more like the original 1990 film, but for some
yeah.
reason, that second one is just the one I grabbed the most.
Nostalgia is a dangerous drug for
It
sure,
is,
and
it
I
is.
sympathize. I did watch Secret of the Ooze quite a bit when I was a kid, along with Three Ninjas. The thing is, though, Cody, Three Ninjas is a terrible film, but I watched it an awful lot when I was a kid.
It is pretty bad.
I always loved the Three Ninjas. What would you call it? Saga, I guess, because you
Uh-huh.
have Three Ninjas kick back, Three Ninjas knuckle up, and then Three Ninjas high noon at Mega Mountain.
And I
It just
owned all 4 of them.
wow. The fourth one was kind of. I don't think anybody return for the fourth. Was Tum Tum still in the mix?
Just grandpa.
His grandpa. He's still like, oh, I'm still flipping over cars with a stunt double.
Uh-huh, yep. When you
So fun.
have Hulk Hogan as your top billing star.
Yeah, he was the I never saw that one. I just remember the DVD walking by it at like a Kmart or something back in the day and thinking, what the fuck? They made a fourth one? What is
Mhm,
this?
mhm.
They were coming out like those Land Before Time movies, just churning and burning them.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe they filmed the first one and the third one back to back, and then they just never released the third one until after they made a second one, and then they were like, "Oh, people still like these," and then they released Knuckle Up. That's why it's the same
Oh,
cast in 1 and 3, and
okay. I didn't.
they look older and then younger.
That's right, they do. And then I
Yeah.
remember watching those and being very confused by the whole thing. I think
Uh-huh.
Colt and Tum Tum the same? We're spending way too much time on Three
Colt
Ninjas.
was the same across the first 3,
Okay,
and
Colt
it's
is the
sad that I
recur
know that
yeah,
confidently, but yeah.
well,
Pull out Google, bitch.
I
I'm
will
right.
stake my reputation on this. Hulk, $2, don't make me hangry, wife. Yeah,
Good advice.
that's fair. I don't know if it's a reference to something I'm missing, but, I appreciate it. Thank you for the
My
$2.
wife is ferocious when she gets past a certain point of hangry.
I'm kind of the same way too. I don't consider myself a very mad eye, moody individual, but once in a while, I hit a breaking point where I'm like, I gotta have some sustenance, or shit's gonna get real around this
Yeah.
house.
There's just
Matt
the other day
Sclero.
sorry.
Oh no. Matt Sclero. Oh, I'm so happy he didn't get triggered by our comments about. You said you saw Signs 3 times in theaters. I like
Mhm.
Signs. Matt does not care for that movie. We've had several discussions, but it's neither here nor there. Different tastes. Anyway, he says I slept through almost the entire prequel Kingsman movie. Oh, that movie sucked. Heard that movie sucked. Did either of you guys like it? That movie sucked. I reviewed it, and I had a lot of people like give me shit on the
Is that
review.
The King's Men or whatever?
Kingsman, I think.
Yeah, I never saw it. I loved the first Kingsman, and I didn't
Yeah.
like the sequel at all, and so I just kind of tapped out.
I really like the first one. The second one, definitely a big step down. It got way more, I felt, Spy Kids Looney Tunes ish
Mhm.
with some of the stuff going on. And then the Kingsman, I don't even know what that was supposed to be, but it was very long, and Ralph, how do you say his name? It's like Rafe Fiennes or Rafe Fiennes.
Rafe Fiennes.
Yeah, that name makes me uncomfortable.
That
There's
was
too many.
one that I was terrified to ever say whenever I first started YouTube, because I read it as Ralph Fiennes, and I
Yeah,
knew if I said that, people were gonna be like, "Are you fucking with me?"
the
So,
spelling's
yeah,
unnatural, and
it
I
is.
can't do it. It's kind of like Femke Jansen, or however you say her
Mhm.
name.
Gal Gadot, no matter how you
Yeah,
say it, somebody
Gal
corrects you.
Gadot. Yeah,
Yeah.
the entire DC lineup is kind of like that with
Henry Cavill, Henry
Henry
Cavill.
Cavill. Yeah, Henry Cavill. Yeah, Henry Cavill. The trick is, Cody, to just be kind of an idiot. And
Mhm.
then people just go, oh, okay. I think I called you Corey a couple of times earlier because that's just what we do. My old co-host was Corey 10 years ago, and I guess that's triggering me.
It happens.
Yeah, sorry about that. Matt Sclero. Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you, Matt. If I didn't thank you, sir. Oh, by the way, he's the Mithril member who has a beautiful movie coming out tomorrow. I'm doing Wonder Woman 1984. I'm roasting that. It looks like that
Mm.
roast is clocking in around 25 minutes. So
Oh, wow.
it's a 2.5 hour movie, and it took me 3 sittings to get through.
Yeah,
Back the movies, Tony's
that's
back.
a weird one to discuss.
Oh, it's such a disaster. I had a bad experience recently. I'm going to try to do Tony's voice. I went to see Dial of Destiny. The air conditioning was off, which was bad. But then it got worse because I had to watch Dial of Destiny. I wish I stayed home instead. Dial of Destiny. That movie is something else as well. What a weird film. Hey, you got 300 million, Disney? I'm gonna make an Indiana Jones movie, and we're gonna use Harrison Ford, who's now almost 80. He might be 80 at this point, and it's gonna be long as shit. And no one under the age of 25 gives a crap about Indiana Jones. It should make a lot of money.
Yeah.
It didn't make a lot of money.
Wah, wah, wah.
What is Disney's deal, anyways? I feel like they just don't care. I mean, do they not have people that are going up to them and saying, "Hey, listen, guys, I don't think this film that cost 200 million is going to make back that money"? They're just like, doesn't matter, put it out.
It kind of feels like everything that was greenlit and all the decisions that were made during that little Bob Chapek era have all turned out to be kind of a disaster in one way or another. And so we're probably going to see about another year or so of that before, well, with the strikes, who knows, maybe even longer. But
oh my God,
if the strikes end tomorrow, there would still be like a year of that trickle before Bob Iger stuff starts to see the light of day, and we'll see if that's any better. He tends to be a lot more safe, obvious. Like as soon as the day he comes back to Disney, they're like, yeah, Toy Story 5.
Yeah, what a profound pick, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna brace yourself. We're gonna do sequels to successful movies. We're gonna do remakes of successful movies. I know.
We're gonna remake Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Only she's not white and they're not dwarves, and she absolutely hates the original. And we're gonna let her say it whenever she wants to the red carpet.
We're gonna get an actress that's about as likable as Brie Larson in the internet. We're gonna have her run her mouth constantly. It's gonna be perfect.
Oh man,
I don't. It's crazy every time I see her show up. I love the cottage industry though. That just it like makes me like the people that I don't even give a shit about, because I see 500 videos come out. I feel like I don't even know how they get them out so quickly, but it's like scroll. Oh, the stupid new Snow White actress said this. What? And then you go to the next video. Dumb Snow White actress puts her foot in her mouth again, and they have like 800 videos on the same topic. Hundreds of thousands of followers. Weird time to be alive.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, Jonathan S., $2 super chat. Baby duckling stay. Okay. So he's clarifying stay. That must be a Ryan Gosling film. Baby Goose.
It's definitely not about ducks.
He's putting us down a rabbit hole. I think Baby Duckling is Ryan Gosling is my guess. But I don't know if I'm right. I might be completely wrong on this.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
just Googled stay movie duckling, and I got the ugly duckling was the only thing that Google gave me.
Ryan Gosling is in one of them, right? Okay, so he's talking about 2005 Stay, R-rated, hour and 39 minutes. I like to see that. We got Ewan McGregor, Naomi Watts, Ryan Gosling, Bob Hoskins. Look at this lineup. R.I.P. Bob Hoskins. Kate Burton. Why do I know that person? I've seen her before. Okay, anyway. Yeah, no, I have not seen this film, but the cast kind of piques my interest, Jonathan. You join that unobtainium tier, you can request it. I have to watch it. Just saying. Okay. Darren Pond for $9.99. Thank you, Darren. My bro and I went to Your Highness opening night, presumably to see Natalie Portman's High Knee. Many families and elderly in attendance, and elderly in attendance. They must have thought it was a Lord of the Rings type flick. Wrong. Many laughed, and my bro and I were the only ones laughing. Yeah, that's a who's the main guy? The Gemstone.
Danny McBride.
Danny McBride. Is that one of his films? Did he write that?
I don't know, but I've had literally thousands of people since I've been on YouTube tell me that I sound exactly like Danny McBride.
You have a little bit of a Danny McBride cadence. Yeah.
Yeah. I never quite hear it, and I take it as a compliment, so it's not something where I'm like, no, I don't. But I've had so many people say it that it's like, okay, it has to be true.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear it now that you say it. I am currently watching the new season of Righteous Gemstones, so his voice is fresh in my mind. Have you seen that show?
I haven't.
It's a good time. It's really fun. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Darren. Yeah, that's funny. They went to Your Highness, which is, if you don't know, a very satirical comedy set in a Lord of the Rings era. I believe McBride's in there. We got
James
Zoe
Franco.
Deschanel or
Mhm.
Zoe Deschanel, depending on how you want to say it. Dishwater, and then Natalie Portman. Yes, James Franco. It's decent. I feel like it's a decent movie. I didn't think it was anything terrible by any means. All right, we got Collie Wally. Is that how you would say that? Collie Wooly? Collie Wooly?
Sounds correct.
One of them. $5 super chat. Thank you. I nearly walked out of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey twice. Definitely least favorite experience this year, but hey, at least I now have bragging rights. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey was so bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had the
God.
studio come after me on Twitter
Why? For
because I
shitting
didn't
on
like
it?
their movie and I said it publicly.
Oh. Yeah, see, Cody, I guess that's the other secret I have is come off as stupid,
Mhm.
which I have, and then don't have a big enough following that you don't have the studios yelling at you. So
Mhm.
those are two tips I can give you. I've specifically not grown my channel to the point where I have studio interference.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's a perfect win all around. We have Edge's Dragon, $10. Thank you, Edge's Dragon. During Predators, when a character said he wanted to sexually attack someone, an annoying drunk audience member whose girlfriend moved to another seat raised his fist and yelled, "Yeah!"
Awkward silence for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yikes. All right, well, okay, thank you for that. Mike Hunt's back. $2. Thank you, Mike. My first fun theater experience when I saw MK 1995. Mortal Kombat! That was a great soundtrack. I remember
Oh, yeah.
getting that soundtrack for my birthday from my
Pumped.
buddy. Oh my. The second one, it had an even better soundtrack, even though the movie was way worse. Hilariously bad watch. Mortal Kombat Annihilation is fun as shit to make fun of. That soundtrack, though, you got fucking Megadeth on there. Living Alone. You got more songs by who does Firestarter? Prodigy. Prodigy's back in the mix. There's a lot of good jams on there. I remember rocking out to it pretty hard.
Mhm. I
And
used to have a
Megadeth, no.
cassette tape my dad bought me of the original Mission Impossible soundtrack because I loved the, dun, dun, the actual Mission Impossible theme.
Oh yeah.
And I used to get furious whenever it would be on side 2 because I forgot to rewind it because I'd play it and I'd be like, "No, it's not the right side."
There is God, cassette tapes were the worst.
Mhm.
I remember I was in a very low point in my life, very sad, and there was a song called "The Man'll Never Be" by Boston. Freaking
Mm.
jam of a song! It'll make even the strongest of alpha men break down in tears. Anyway, it's like a rainy day out. I had picked up some furniture and I was hauling it across the highway, and the song's on the tape, and it plays for like 5 minutes. It's a long song, and I'm sitting there like crying along, and when it ends, I'm like rewinding it so I can listen to it again. It's so bad. The Man Will Never Be. Boston. Check it out. Great song. Mad Jazz Fan's back, baby. $4.99. Thank you, Mad Jazz Fan. It was just a single random guy who picked up a baby seat outside that theater and was just crazy. He wasn't watching the movie. I was in. Okay, wow. So this dude just threw a chair when he walked out of a movie
Picks
theater.
a random theater, picks a guy, and just like, "Fuck your face," and just throws it.
Yeah! Throws it over. Jesus.
Oh, man.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying. That helps a lot. And then the last one, get them in if you have them. Otherwise, we will plan on letting Cody go. He's probably like, get me out of here. Hulk, $2 is back. Can MCU be fixed? Hulk sucked during / after Thor 3. Can the MCU be fixed? I don't know. I don't know if fixed is even the word I would use. It's just, will people have interest in it again?
Yeah, again, when I was talking about that whole Bob Chapek era where they were just like, let's just pump a ton of Disney Plus stuff out.
Yeah.
And that the mediocrity of pretty much all the shows for the most part,
Yeah.
the focus on the multiverse thing, which I don't think is holding people's interest as a concept to go
It's
across three
terrible.
phases.
Terrible.
Yeah, it's been rough.
The
So that
multiverse should have been, I think, a two-part Avengers film and kept it at that. Like, made it all just this huge
mhm.
nerdgasm of, references, and don't build it up through these other random movies like Ant-Man and the Wasp. What?
Yeah, and the whole thing that they were trying to do where you have to watch the Disney Plus shows to understand things in the movie, I think is gonna backfire massively. Like, I saw a tweet where they said the Marvels is going to be following events from, uh, 3 different movies and 2 different shows or something like that, or
I
3
did
shows
see
and 2
that.
movies,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just like, dude, it's like fucking homework at this point. Like, and every Disney Plus show that I've actually sat through, I haven't really liked by the end of it. So it's just like I'm not gonna spend 40 hours doing homework for a movie I don't even really care about.
That one I think is going to be the most fascinating one to watch. I mean,
Mhm,
recently I think everybody in our space was kind of blown away, pun intended, by the Barbenheimer event that
mhm,
took place, and Barbie I think is crossing $1 billion at the box office. It's just insane. I did not predict that at all.
mhm.
So the Marvels, this is a follow-up film to, what was it? Captain Marvel? What was the first one
Captain
called?
Marvel,
Captain
WandaVision,
Marvel?
Secret Invasion,
But
Miss Marvel, and
specifically, Captain Marvel was the last
yeah,
theatrical release with Brie Larson, and that
which
movie made
made a
over
billion.
$1 billion because it was wedged between Infinity War, the Infinity Saga, and Endgame.
Mhm,
And so I'm really fascinated to see how a sequel does with the same actress and
mhm.
these other characters. One of them, WandaVision, the other one, whatever. It's going to be very fascinating to see play out. My prediction, which are always wrong, is it's not going to do too hot. I'm thinking
Yeah.
maybe 400 million.
That's yeah, I would probably land somewhere in there too. I'd be surprised. I didn't even think the trailers were very good, and I didn't hate Captain Marvel. I didn't think it was all that great. I
Yeah.
don't really have much of an issue with Brie Larson as much as the internet wants everybody to hate her, but yeah, that trailer, I was just like that. Everything you're showing me, I've seen before. There's nothing that is bringing me to this. Like, oh, if we use our powers, we swap places. That's the only new element. Otherwise, it's like, oh, flying people with a green screen punching each other. Cool.
Yeah, I've never had a problem with Brie Larson. She's like a super hot blonde bombshell. What the hell do I care if she has a couple stupid flubs on camera?
Mhm.
Everybody does. But
Mhm.
yeah, people really went hard on her. But I think it was kind of, again, it was that cottage industry where you can make a lot of money just hating on one or two different actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, sex sells, and she's plenty good looking, and she said some dumb stuff, I guess. Matt Sclero's back, 9.99. Thank you, Matt. Adam. Oh, here we go. This is what I was afraid of. Adam mentioned that I hate Signs. I know you guys love it, but can you guys admit the Last Supper scene is awful? Mel Gibson eating while angry crying is an all-time terrible moment.
Disagree.
I disagree as well. Gibson is a very solid actor, and he's a
Uh-huh.
solid director, and I think it helps that he's a crazy dude in real life, that he's really able to channel that energy and put it onto the big screen. Also, he's reeling over loss of his wife. He's reeling over having to raise these kids. He's got fucking aliens in his backyard. And again, and Matt and I have had this discussion off camera several times. I don't care that the aliens go to a planet that's full of water. We don't know their story, right? We don't know why they're there. They might have ran out of gas and
Mhm.
they had to stop. They had to make a quick stop. It's not about that. It's about the fact that this guy is trying to move past his wife dying and find his faith again, find something that makes him happy in this world. And I
Yeah.
think M Night nailed it.
Yeah.
But
I love that movie.
I do too. I do too. It's weird. But Matt, I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate your thoughts. And yeah, I thank you everyone for watching. Cody, why don't you tell them where they can find you if they don't know?
Yeah, you can just search my name, Cody Leach. That's the name of my channel. I should be the first like 1,000 examples that pop up. If you find me on Twitter or Instagram, I recently changed them to where they're, well, excuse me, X, or Instagram.
Oh my
I
goodness.
changed my little
So
handle
so
to
obnoxious.
right there. You can find me with that.
Here, I'll put you up right there so they can see it. Look at that.
There we go.
Can I get you in this? Can I flip to you in the screen? No, they don't let me do that. Is that not?
Oh,
Well, we can do it like this. There you go. There's
there you
Cody's
go.
channel. You can
I'm
go ahead.
there.
There he is. You can go ahead and subscribe to it. You know, I really like StreamYard. There's a couple things that I think need some fine tuning, but for the most part, it's a very solid service.
Yes. Yeah. StreamYard's pretty awesome.
All right. I think we're good. I think we're done. So, guys, thanks again for watching. Cody, it's always a good time. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
And we'll leave it there. See you guys soon. Take care.